I sent that message right after the plane took off. No dramatic exclamation points, no pleading emojis, just a plain line dropped in the family group chat. Flight lands at 3 p.m. Can someone pick me up? I just buried my husband. It had been a military funeral overseas, the kind you see in quiet, powerful photos. A folded flag pressed into my AAS's 21-gun salute cracking through the air. A casket that felt heavier than anything I've ever known, even though I never laid a hand on it. We'd been married for years, most of that time spent in different time zones. Deployments don't stop for birthdays or anniversaries, and they sure don't care about holidays. But love isn't about keeping score. I wasn't asking for much, just a ride home. Before the plane even leveled off, the replies started. My brother first, we're busy. Try Uber. 2 minutes later, my mom, why didn't you plan better? No, how was the funeral? No, we're so sorry. No, we're proud of him. Just cold, clipped words, quick and clean, like they couldn't wait to get it over with. I sat there by the window, watching the clouds slide under us, and realized the quiet in my chest wasn't grief, it was something colder. It was the moment you figure out that the people you thought would catch you, sometimes they're the ones holding the knife. So I typed back one sentence, no worries. That was it. No fight, no guilt trip, no drama, just silence. When we landed, I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I pulled my coat tighter, walked past the baggage carousel, past the hugs and happy tears of other passengers, and stepped into a black SUV already idling at the curb. Because while my family was busy judging, they had no idea who else had flown back with me, or what I'd brought from the base, or who was waiting just out of sight. That night, I didn't send another text. Didn't post a word. But when the 9 o'clock news came on, when their phones lit up with breaking coverage, I know they saw it. I can picture the scene, forks dropped mid-bite, my mother's wine glass hitting the tile. And I know one thing for certain, they'll never forget what happened next. The news clip was under a minute long, but that was all it needed. It ran right in the middle of the broadcast, after the weather, before the sports scores. The anchor's voice was steady, that practiced tone they use when telling you about both heartbreak and heroism. Today, a widow returned from her husband's overseas military funeral alone, but not unnoticed. The footage rolled, black SUV at the airport curb, me stepping out, still dressed in black, folded flag tight against my chest. And behind me, 3 Marines in full dress, 2 women and 1 man. They didn't just walk with me, they flanked me, shoulders squared, back straight, a human wall of respect. The camera zoomed in as I turned and handed one of them a small, white-ribboned box. The reporter's voice continued, in an unexpected turn, the widow was met not by relatives, but by her husband's FOA SARE unit, who arranged a full military tribute and escort. She declined interviews but left behind one handwritten note for the press. Then the screen filled with my handwriting. If you ever find yourself standing alone at the edge of grief, don't look for the people who left you there. Look for the ones who show up anyway. They didn't use my full name, they didn't have to. Everyone in that group chat knew exactly whose story they were watching. The final shot was me walking between 2 Marines toward the SUV, head high, back straight. No tears. No pleas for sympathy. Just truth, broadcast on every major channel. And in living rooms across the city, in my mother's kitchen, in my brother's condo, utensils clattered, phones froze mid-scroll, and silence filled the air. They'd sent me a message. Now, I'd sent one back. The family chat stayed quiet for the next 24 hours. No reactions. No apologies. Not even a half-hearted just saw the news. But silence tells its own story, and theirs was starting to fall apart. My sister-in-law broke first, sending a private message, "Was that, you on Channel 5? I didn't answer. She didn't ask again, but word was spreading. That image of me, standing like a statue between Marines, was making its rounds everywhere. Behind the scenes, the people who left me stranded were already scrambling to rewrite history. My mom tried first, posting an old 4th of July photo of me and my brother as kids, holding hands at a parade, with the caption, "Family above all, always." I didn't like it. Didn't comment. I didn't have to, the top reply was from someone else, you didn't even pick her up from the airport. It got shared, and reshared again, not by me, but by people who still believe loyalty is a two-way street. Then my brother took his turn. He texted, didn't realize it was that serious. You should have said something. I read it twice, laughed once. As if grief comes with an RSVP. As if burying my husband in a country they can't even pronounce needed to be pitched like a weekend plan. I typed a reply. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that, too. Finally, I just sent, you made your choice. So did I. No anger, no punctuation. Just a mirror. And the truth is, I didn't need to say more, the media had already called, asking for a follow-up segment. This time, they didn't want me silent. They wanted my story. I hadn't planned to speak. But silence can protect the wrong people. So when the news station called again, asking if I'd share my voice as a widow, I said yes. Not for pity. Not for clicks. For truth. The interview was taped in a small studio. No fancy lights, no crowd. Just me, the anchor, and a camera. He asked the first question gently, what happened when you landed? I took a breath and finally said the line I'd been carrying for days, I buried my husband with honor, and came home to silence. The room stilled. Even the cameraman stopped moving. I told them the whole thing, how I sent one simple text, got 2 replies colder than the wind outside that TEA signal, how I wasn't met by family, but by soldiers who understand what it means to truly show up. I didn't name names. Didn't drag them publicly. But I did say, blood doesn't make someone family. Presence does. That segment aired in prime time. 6 minutes. No music. No fluff. Just me, steady, raw, and real. The response was immediate. Strangers wrote in, veterans, widows, people who'd come home to empty driveways and quiet kitchens. But in the family chat? Different story. My mom left the group. No goodbye. My brother renamed it from Family Sparkling Heart to just Group. Me? I archived it. Because once you've been abandoned in your worst moment, you stop asking people to be what they should have been all along. This wasn't revenge. It was record, and now it lived beyond their control. It began small, just an envelope in my mailbox. No return address, just careful handwriting on the front. Inside was a note, I saw you on the news. My husband never made it back. You made me feel less alone. From there, it grew. Local veterans groups started sharing the clip. A Gold Star Mother's Facebook page reposted the entire segment. A military spouses network reached out, offering rides, meals, shoulders I didn't ask for but suddenly realized I needed. Then strangers organized a candlelight vigil. Dozens showed up, folks I'd never met, people who knew exactly how heavy a folded flag feels. I kept to the back, hoodie pulled up, eyes scanning the crowd. They weren't mourning with me. They were standing for me, for every man or woman who ever sat alone at an airport curb when they should have been met with open AASs. Someone started singing softly, a girl, maybe 16, her voice cracking on the line, I'll carry you home. I almost lost it. Almost. Then I caught sight of something that steadied me, my brother, standing off at the edge of the crowd, hands buried in his pockets, head hanging low. He didn't say a word. Didn't walk over. But he saw it, all of it. The strangers who showed up when family didn't. The way a community carried the weight blood refused to touch. The next morning, he texted me. No greeting. Just, didn't think it'd get this big. I stared at that screen, thought about 100 things I wanted to fire back, and finally typed, that's the thing about grief. It either builds walls or it builds bridges. You picked your side. No reply. That was fine. This story wasn't for him anymore. It was for the people who whispered, me too. For the ones who needed to know that dignity can grow in the very spot disappointment tried to kill it. A few weeks passed. Flowers kept landing on my porch. Letters kept filling my mailbox. But something in me shifted, I didn't want to just be a story people passed around. I wanted to build something real. So I did. I gave it a name, the Welcome Project. A non-profit for military spouses returning home alone. We handled airport pickups, meal trains, care teams. Not pity. Not charity. Just presence. The kind that shows up. Word got around fast. Within 3 days, volunteers signed up from 5 states. Someone donated a van. Someone else offered free use of an event space. By the second week, our first welcome team stood at JFK holding a sign that read, "We've got you." A photo of that moment went viral. And that's when the phone rang. My mom. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice cracked halfway through. "I didn't know how to help. I didn't think you'd want us there." I deleted it, not out of anger, but out of peace. Because I didn't need it anymore. Some wounds don't close because someone says I'm sorry. They close because you stop bleeding for the people who watched you drown. My brother sent a message, too, a small, anonymous donation receipt. I knew it was from him. I didn't reply. This wasn't about guilt. It was about truth, the kind that buys vans, stocks care kits, and holds signs at the gate when no one else shows up. Sometimes you don't burn bridges. You just build better ones somewhere else. When people ask what started it all, the project, the movement, I tell them, a flight that landed at 3 p.m. and nobody came. The local paper called it a quiet revolution. Front page, a photo of me at a welcome event, AAS around a young woman clutching a folded flag to her chest, her smile trembling. The caption read, "From grief to ground crew, how one widow changed coming home." The day it ran, I got a text from an unknown number. Just a screenshot of the article. No words. I recognized the number. My mother's. That night, I was invited to speak at a memorial for military families. No performance, no speechmaking, just a story. I stood at the podium, candles flickering in the wind, rows of faces looking up. Some proud. Some shattered. All listening. I told them what happened, without bitterness, without naming names. I came home alone, I said, but I didn't stay that way. I spoke about Ethan, my husband. His laugh. His letters. How once, in passing, he'd told me, if something ever happens to me, don't let silence win. And I hadn't. When I stepped down, a woman in pearls touched my AAS, her eyes wet. "My daughter, she was on your first welcome pickup. You saved her." I shook her hand and held it, like that moment was all either of us needed. Behind her, under a tree, I spotted them, my mother and my brother. They hadn't been invited. They didn't announce themselves. They just stood there watching. I let them. No wave. No smile. Just that space between us, thick with everything they never said. Because sometimes punishment isn't rage. It's replacement. It's letting strangers clap for the daughter you forgot to meet at the gate. I used to think closure came in the FOAS of an apology, a text, a phone call, some grand moment where the people who hurt you finally said what they should have said when it mattered. But that's not how mine came. It came one quiet night, in my kitchen, folding a Welcome Project t-shirt into a care kit for another widow I'd never met. The house was calm. No group chats lighting up. No waiting for someone to say we're here. Because now, I was the one showing up. And I was never alone. The doorbell rang, a volunteer dropping off supplies. A young couple, both FOAS Air military, newly married. She hugged me like we'd known each other forever. And in a way, we had. Not in the way family knows you, in the way truth does. In the way people who survive the silence somehow find each other. I never replied to my mom's last message. I never followed up on my brother's donation. And I never reopened that group chat. Some people bury you in their silence. Others lift you in theirs. And that's what I'll tell the next woman who asks how to survive the loneliness. I'll tell her the one thing I learned sitting alone at that TEA signal. You don't rebuild by waiting for them. You rebuild by becoming what they weren't. And one day, they'll be watching from the sidelines, phones lighting up with news you never sent them, strangers chanting your name, and they'll realize your story doesn't include theirs. They'll understand. Too late, but they'll understand. And you? you'll already be walking forward. Not alone. Never again.